Hi, welcome to Contain Strong Language. This is a place where we can stop trying to pretend that we're so impressive and we can have an honest chat about life and work. Thanks for being here. I know there's so much content being thrown at you, so I appreciate you being here and I hope you enjoy this very real, very raw chat. So I've got Sam Fillingham on with me today. Sam, you and I met, didn't we, via Claire Morris's co-working session a few weeks ago, and then found out randomly that you used to live a few roads down the road from where I am now.
Yeah, it was random actually, wasn't it? Because that sort of networking group is online, but quite based in the south as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
blew my mind. I love that. I love all these little like synchronicities and these moments.
Mm.
Um, so I was just looking at your LinkedIn, so I know we're connected on there as well.
Mm.
And you and I haven't talked before, which is cool because then, you know, one to one, I get to ask really basic questions about what you do because you do loads. So tell me in your own words, what's going on for you at the moment in terms of work? Like, what is it that you're doing at the moment?
So I'm in a really kind of interesting transition phase at the moment. So my work background is that I was a civil servant for a really long time, worked in project and project management for HMRC until 2020 when I went full time into CEO of a charity that I founded sort of 10 years previously, which has been amazing. And just more recently, in sort of the last 18 months, I've found my way into a beautiful practice called Yoga Nidra, which is the sleep of yoga. So I'm just sort of transitioning out of my role in the charity and building up my Yoga Nidra business.
Nice. I was just Googling it before we met because I was like, I have a very basic understanding of yoga. I know that whenever I've done it, I felt better afterwards. But then I learned, well, just having Googled it, so I have a very small understanding, but it wasn't what I expected. So tell me about Yoga Nidra, 'cause I also didn't know how to pronounce it until you just said it.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Most people don't. It's really, I seem to end up in things that like nobody's heard of that I need to explain. It's similar with the charity. That's like a rare condition I need to explain. And it's the same with Nidra. But I like that. I like new things. So yeah, Yoga Nidra is the sleep of yoga. So it's a completely restorative practice. So no movement, so accessible to all. And it's one of the ancient yogic practices that is just like I guess to make it relatable, a guided meditation on a basic level. But there's a lot more to it. It takes you through 5 layers of consciousness. It goes through takes your brain through to the delta brain state, which is more restorative than sleep. So it actually restores your organs and cells, on a cellular level during Yoga Nidra. So they say that 1 hour of Yoga Nidra equates to 4 hours sleep. It's that restorative.
That's mad.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds very useful.
It is. It's magical practice.
How did you find it?
Through my own kind of healing journey with PTSD. So I was diagnosed with complex PTSD in about 2018, 19, as part of like a workplace incident, toxic workplace at HMRC. And I had loads of therapy provided by the workplace at that time, which really helped heal my brain. But I found that my body and my soul were not healed and needed a lot more. So during the pandemic, I found an online, it was called a moon Zoom. It was to sort of get connected with the moon and its cycles. And the lady that ran that actually did Nidra as part of that. Didn't really know it as Nidra. She was just doing like a rest practice. And I sort of came to understand how that helped me heal massively. And I worked with her a little bit and brought her into my charity community to help them. When I saw the difference in the charity community, the difference it made to them, we did like a mini sort of 4-week program with them. And I saw people just like completely transform, people that I'd worked with for years. really transformed. They kind of stopped fighting with their bodies for the first time and just found a level of peace that was just, like magical, really. So once I saw the effect that it had on others, I was just like, I need this in my life. And did an online course for like 12 months in 2022 to learn shit.
It sounds amazing. I've been talking recently. I don't know. It happens this way. I find that whenever I talk to someone, then I have more instances and more conversations, and it's like that. I see it everywhere. So, not that I'm talking about Yoga Nidra all the time, but I was talking to a friend this week about like somatic healing. Does this fit in that, under that umbrella?
Yeah, absolutely, it does, because it incorporates breath work into it. You set an intention as part of it. And so it's very much on that sort of somatic spectrum. It doesn't involve movement, which is, another somatics. But I would put it in that category for sure.
Okay. And obviously, like not obviously, I won't assume anything, but everyone has their own circumstances. Is it, when you were talking about the recipients or the people that you work with in your charity, were these people practicing daily? Is it a daily practice?
It is, anything that in the yogic tradition is and should be a daily practice. That's how you get the best benefits from it. When we did it with the charity community, it was a 4-week program where they did it for sort of 2 hours once a week. And then obviously encouraged to take it up themselves and do it as much as possible. But I'm not sure how many of them practiced it outside of that. So, just the sort of 2 hours a week alone was enough to see amazing benefits, like reduced anxiety, improved sleep, improved life satisfaction were like the results from that program in particular.
Sounds incredible. Does it, because it feels therapeutic, does it replace therapy? Is it, again, depending on the situation, but is it like, how do you view it in the context of like therapy and other therapeutic practices?
I think it depends what you need it for. I think if you have complex PTSD, then I think it should sit alongside it. If you have anxiety or just, exhausted, then it can, be your therapy. That it can be all that you need, to help you live a rested life and help you reduce cortisol in the body and feel better. Yeah, for sure. So it really depends on the person.
I'm definitely going to look into this because I'm like, I need this. Is it emotional? Like, is it, is there a release of people crying?
No, generally not. It can happen for sure as a more sustained practice, but my experience now of sort of teaching it to individuals online and in person is that it's generally not an emotional release. But you're having the effects of it without the crying, if that makes sense.
The benefits.
So, you're getting the benefits of it without the crying. I know a lot of like the movement-based somatic practices and breath works can invoke tears and things like that. There will be occasions when Nidra will do that, but in general, it's not one where you're going to turn up and cry. You're more likely to have like creative ideas during the practice. We do have people that have like spiritual moments in there. They might sort of connect with something intuitively and connect with people from their past as part of it. And just feel a real like emotional release from it as well.
So is that, because I looked at Wise Heart, that's your business, is that all sitting under, is the Yoga Nidra, the main part of Wise Heart, or are you doing other stuff? I mean, it's,
so Yeah,
That's all right.
Wise Heart is my feminine archetype name that I discovered through my Yoga Nidra practice and through my
Okay.
training. So yeah, all the Yoga Nidra practices sit under that. So yeah, online and in-person classes, retreats, and workplace wellness as well, and online downloads all sort of sit within there. And I'm just starting a really interesting collaboration with a climate resilience enterprise where we're going to be bringing a personal development program next year for people either working in climate resilience or just in small businesses who want to find a way to get creative about it from a rested point of view, really. So, we all know that something needs to be done about climate resilience, but it can be quite scary and overwhelming. So we're just working on putting together a program where you can use this practice of Yoga Nidra and some other therapeutic practices to approach that from, a settled nervous system point of view and a creative place.
Did you say climate resilience?
Yes. Yeah, climate resilience. Yeah.
So what do you mean?
So climate resilience, I guess, is us as individuals being resilient to what is changing in the climate. So
Okay.
on a personal level, from being able to react with strength and calm to it.
Yeah.
Then on a massive level, that resilience to build the infrastructure and things that are needed to handle it too.
So everything that's in your environment, how you, okay. So not in my head, I was like, is this a climate thing? Like, is this related to the actual environment I should know about? Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about rest? Because I don't think many of us do it very well these days. I mean, I definitely don't. So I'd like to hear what your take is on some rest. Big topic.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely. I think rest is a radical act in our current climate. I think shame is placed upon it. And I think it is, a radical act and part of a revolution that we need within ourselves, within the world. And my teacher, Karen Brody, very much approaches it like that. Rest is a revolution. That practice and teaching is primarily for women, because she really believes, and I do, that women currently and traditionally haven't rested. And when women are rested, we can be creative. We can change the world in a much bigger scale than we're able to when we're not rested, when we're overworked, we're overtired, and too busy.
Why do we suck at it so much? I feel like it's another big one to unpick, but like, is that been the case for decades? I mean, it's perhaps always been the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of, ancestrally, our ancestors were never able to rest because they were too busy. We've never had that model of rest as women from our ancestors because it just wasn't possible in capitalism and even before that. So we've not had the models of it. And then the world changed, and women are mostly forced into like a lot more work these days than we were ever used to. It's not as physical as it would have been for our ancestors, but we work a lot, and so we're kind of forced into a more masculine model that has taken us away from the very basic feminine nature of rest and nurture. And rest is very creative and very productive. And the world that we live in has lost that message, and we've kind of all forgotten how to do it as well.
It's wild. Again, like, I think in each of these sort of, this is the fifth chat podcast, whatever you want to call it, I've had, and it's just come up in every single one. And it's about, so I, for one, I always fill my head with things. I don't rest very well. I'm very much a high sort of frequency person. I need to bring it down. So I'll be looking into Yoga Nidra. But you can't have space to be creative. You can't have space to give anything if you're just constantly putting things in. If you're constantly just running I can't even finish that sentence, but you know what I mean. And most people I speak to feel the same. It's like, I need to create space, but I find it so hard to do that for myself, to take things out, because then I don't know whether you have to like face yourself or you feel guilty, you feel unproductive. It's hard, right?
It is really hard.
Or no?
Really hard. That's why burnout is so widespread. You know, I've had like several burnouts, mental, physical, emotional. And, you know, most people I come into contact with have experienced some level of burnout because, you know, we're exposed to so much noise just in general in life, aren't we? We don't get enough quiet and space and peace to create from.
I think I was talking about this earlier. So it was their friend, shout out to Katia, who I met with earlier this week, and we did she invited a few of us round to do some Christmas card crafting, and I've like never done anything like this. Like, I've made cards, but like not since I was a kid. And like we sat down as adults, and I was like, whoa! And it was so lovely. It was so nice to connect. And I also heard something, again, I always forget all the references because I listen so much, but that there is more of a move to like one-to-one in response to this like go AI super connected digital world, that more people are seeking out these sort of one-to-one conversations, the connections, like the crafting and the sitting opposite someone without your phone and just like actually having a conversation. And like this cafe in Amsterdam that's exploding where you're not allowed to bring your phones in and people are just sitting there. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
So I think that's fascinating, that there is obviously that real need, that primal need to connect with people. And I think there probably, or hopefully, will be more of a move towards that. But yeah, it's so easy to forget how joyful these simple things can be.
Yeah, it's really easy to connect. And yeah, these offline clubs are growing, and hopefully that, you know, signals a bit more of a move towards more peace. But I just think, you know, sort of instinctively, and for me, I'm just on this massive path of like, I must share this peace. There's a medicine in this rest that really needs to be shared to a bigger audience. So, you know, it's kind of like a slow journey in a way, because people aren't, you know, doing it as a matter of course. But I just think that, you know, the world really needs it. So I'm just really instinctively called to keep sharing that peace in whatever way I can.
So how do you approach then, like how do you achieve peace, Sam? Is it primarily through the Yoga Nidra? Is it the other parts? Like what else are you using?
Yeah, lots of things really. Yeah, so primarily Yoga Nidra as a practice.
Yeah.
Nature is a massive part of that. You know, I really take my lead from nature. I'm lucky to be surrounded by so much in Buxton that I have easy access to just get out into the peace and the quiet. So that's a massive part of it. Movement somatics. I do a lot of sort of qigong and those kind of movement practices that sort of really help quiet your nervous system as well. So I think years of therapy and sort of healing practices have built up sort of a big bag of tricks to bring that peace. But primarily, I was born with a sense of peace and calm all my life. People have said to me, "Oh, really? You're so calming. Your voice is so calming."
You do have that energy.
Yeah, so it's innate as well. And when I was doing my Yoga Nidra training, I really got a strong sense that like I'd done this kind of thing before, you know, like past life or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I noticed that when we spoke on the co-working, not that we had a big chat, but I often feel like when you have these conversations, you feel someone's energy, don't you? And I know that I can, you know, 3 coffees in up here, and then I meet someone else who's got a calmer energy. I have to like consciously be like, okay, I'll take it down a few, just so we can sort of match up. It's like getting into gear, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah.
And I love that because I've never had that kind of energy. But that's cool that you've always had it.
It is really cool. And I guess until I found Yoga Nidra, I didn't really know what to do with that, you know. Obviously, it was always really helpful in charity work. It was
Okay.
for supporting that community and helping people. It really helped. But I never quite found like the fit for me and why I am this way until I found Yoga Nidra. And then it was just kind of like, oh, this is why, and now I get loads of feedback about my voice and stuff, which I never understood or you knew about until I found it. So yeah, it's really cool.
So what are the things that you're learning at the moment? Like, is there anything that you're trying to, it doesn't have to be like deep or whatever, but is there something that you're trying to work out at the moment?
It's an interesting one. A few things. The one that springs to mind is living more intuitively as a business owner and seeking out joy rather than productivity. So it's kind of an exercise in surrendering and releasing the work, sort of going against everything I've ever done, where it's just been like, be productive, do, you will achieve. It's more like bringing that fully rested living into business and seeking out joy that will produce the results rather than do, go. Which is interesting.
Yeah. It is. I think like surrendering, like, I don't know, how do you view control? Are you someone that's quite happy to go with the flow, or do you like to control? You can not have to be either of those things.
No, so I am a go with the flow kind of person. But I've also been like a massive people pleaser and overachiever at the same time. Kind of really thought, got to do it all myself. I've got to go. So a bit of an interesting mix, I think. I don't believe in control, but I think that people pleasing overachiever has made me over control things that didn't need to.
Yeah, I get that. I've never really been a people pleaser. Probably could do with pleasing more people, like having a bit more of that. But I also relate with the trying to surrender sort of thing, because I never want to surrender. Like, I just want to control. Not, yeah, I suppose I probably do want to control everything. But yeah, it's one of the hardest. Like, I find the hustle culture of work like very easy. Like, I love to work, and I identify myself as successful or not depending on my work. Like, it's a really massive thing for me, and I do love it. But I see that, generally speaking, when I put more in, I get more out. But that's not always true. And I do think there's an energy to being someone who needs something that is kind of quite repellent, actually. So I'm sort of like, I'm now completely waffling, Sam, but I'm sort of woo curious in terms of like manifesting and law of attraction. And I know when I try and let things go and live in the moment and enjoy and have gratitude and appreciation, that more things come to me. Like, I do know that's true too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of sums it up. There's like a couple of good books, like Less by Kate Northrup, for instance. It's just all about that, like kind of doing less and attracting more, and everything that we know and have done up to this point, for me anyway, has said the complete opposite of that. So it's really interesting to be kind of starting to embrace that now and getting to a place in my life where I can do that, I guess, with the business now as well.
Nice. So you strike me as a really sort of at peace person, which obviously you've done the work to achieve. What sort of things do you, we don't have to be negative, but like, what sort of things do you reject? What sort of things don't you believe?
I reject reject doing things that don't feel good to me anymore, being in places and activities that just don't sit well with me. I spent a lot of my life just putting up with places that felt bad because I thought you had to put up with them. So now I kind of reject anything that doesn't feel energetically right. So if I go into a networking event and I just get a bad energy, I'll not go again, or not be there. And that is something I reject. Just people and places that don't feel good to me anymore. I just won't put up with them, and I'll remove myself from them. And I'm really happy to draw a line and say really cringy things like, this just does not feel energetically good for me, to people. It took me a long time to be able to do that, but I'm really quite happy to do that now because I'm very conscious of protecting my energy. I spent many years not protecting it and putting it in places that weren't good for me. And so, I'm really happy to not do that and reject putting my energy in places that don't appreciate it and don't feel good to me anymore.
That's cool. I don't know if I could say that. I could say something else, but I don't know if I could it properly, fully explain myself. But I do find that as I get older, I can do more of that. Like, I've always had quite good boundaries, but I am quite enjoying the fact that I care less as each year. I mean, it's actually quite scary. I'm like, how am I going to be when I'm 60?
Yeah, I know what you mean. A lot of that does kind of come with age, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really liberating, actually. Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Of course, I forget a lot of things. But someone was saying to me the day that they were like, well, what would people think? And I actually don't. There are certain, obviously, everyone has the people that they want to please, and that all goes fairly deep. But generally speaking, I've sort of leaned into the fact that I don't really care about others' opinions. And that has done quite well for me in my work because it's polarizing. And so people know quite early on, they're like, oh, okay, definitely not you. And then that means that whenever I get on a call with someone, like, generally speaking, like, we get on. But yeah, so tell me about the social media thing then, because you mentioned, I think before we started recording, you've got a audio podcast that you promote on the channels, well, not necessarily on social media. How do you view social media?
Yeah, I view social media as kind of a necessary evil at this point. Like, I see the benefits of it for building community, finding business, and giving us a voice and a platform. Like, I kind of love that element of it. But at this point in my life, I also see it as, I think it's something that's making us believe that it gives us community, but it's not giving us a depth of community that we need, and is creating quite a bit of loneliness, which is to recognise. So, I'm just actually, I was talking to my fellow podcast host, my friend Louise, this week about how I'm going to take an earlier break from social media this December than I would ordinarily. So I'm still going to be working up until a few days before Christmas, but I'm going to take a break from social media because I do just think it's creating a lot of loneliness that's hard to recognise, because you feel like you're connected and there's some community there, but the depth of it is so shallow that you start to crave more, is what I'm finding lately.
You mean you can sort of kid yourself that you're connecting, but actually it's quite superficial?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I get that. I think what I love, so my business will always be digital first because I can work remotely and I send words over an email typically. So I don't really have to do much face to face, though I'd love to meet people face to face. So, excuse me, my work and networking, which I do quite a lot of, is always going to be online. And for that, I'm really grateful because I have a much more balanced family life because I'm not in an office and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Same.
But, and also, it gives me opportunities for conversations like this where we can go a bit deeper. But I hear you. I think we could quite easily feel like I've been connected all day. So now, you know, that cup is full. And, you know, my husband, so I'm in my living room at the moment because he's on calls, but he's on back-to-back Teams calls. So for him, he probably feels like he's constantly connecting with people, but it's all just work. It's, you know, it's a lot. Perhaps it's also not enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because like I was thinking about it this week. I've worked at home probably 6, 7, maybe even more now. And like you say, it's so convenient and so wonderful to work around like family life and things like that. I think it's got like a shelf life as well, and its lack of people connections. I don't think it'll ever be replaced because like I love digital and I'm the same. Like it's so handy. It really is. But I think the balance of like real human connections with more depth needs to be struck. So yeah, kind of working through at the moment.
So you've worked at home for 6 or 7 years, were you saying?
Yeah, I worked at home for quite a few years in HMRC before the pandemic as well. So I think I've kind of reached my limit of like full-time home working.
Yeah, peaked. Yeah, I mean, you really appreciate home when you're not always in it, I have to say. It's like when you go on holiday and you're just like, oh, this has made home so much better. I like to get out. Like I'll go to a cafe every now and again. Excuse me. And also me and my friend Amy, we set up a networking group where we walk in the countryside and we go out every month. So yeah, we found in Stockport just to meet other creatives and literally go for a walk and connect, because that's all that I'm wanting with all these things is connection, isn't it? Well, yeah, I only a few months ago have gone full time, so now I'm 5 days a week at home working, and it's a lot. I'm always ready to get out and go to the park or do something outside of these walls.
Yeah, you've got to keep that balance, haven't you? I think like networking is really good for that, isn't it? When you're like in your own business at home.
Yeah, and you know, we tried to set it up as like an antidote to networking because we just really didn't like those sort of business breakfasts where you've got to stand up and be big, you know, impressive. Yeah. Well, let's not do that. That's not for us. Amazing. So is there anything that that is top of mind that you want to talk about? No pressure. But is there anything that you think about that needs to be addressed or talked about more?
I guess it's really important for me to share about the sort of power of the Nidra with trauma. Because I mean, I love working with anyone with Nidra, and people that come to my classes don't, you know, have trauma. But because I was so affected by complex PTSD, I always feel it's really important to share the message to people that like you can heal from trauma through practices like Yoga Nidra just by lying down. You don't have to talk about it and address the trauma and dig it all up and do the really painful stuff. You can heal from just lying down and a regular Nidra practice as well. And I'm not saying it to like flog a program, but I do really want to work one-to-one with people that have trauma, with bringing Yoga Nidra to them and helping them live a restful life, because I just know from firsthand like the radical that it has on your life. So yeah, I guess that's what I'd like to share, that, you know.
Amazing. Yeah, and I can not having experienced trauma like that, but I would imagine that you wouldn't really want to sit in your pain or to revisit. That sounds like a gentler approach to healing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's when I found out that the effects on the sort of body and brain are the same from Yoga Nidra with a really difficult trauma therapy called EMDR, which I did. Like the effects on the brain and the body are equal. to it, when I found that out, like I think I burst into tears because I'd been through that therapy and it was so difficult. It like stripped you back to the complete basics of your whole mind, really stripped me as a person to the depths of despair and, you know, built me back up slowly and really took away a lot of pain and the trauma. But it was really difficult, really hellish, like a really horrible time. And if someone had said to me then I could like lie down and experience the same healing effect, but just by listening to someone's voice, I would have like bit their hands off and paid every pound I ever could to do it, to not feel and be dragged through that pain, but to just lie down and just do something really gentle. I would have been so grateful to have found it at that time, for sure.
100%. So is that the people that you're helping with trauma, is that a particular type of person, or is that sort of wide open to all different types of trauma and experiences?
Yeah, anyone that's experienced any level of trauma, so whether that's complex or, you know, simple trauma, it will have the same effect for everyone. There's a few like scientific studies showing now that you know, they're using it Nidra with people returning from war with PTSD and seeing really incredible effects.
Wow.
So the science is really following sort of the you know, the ancient knowing and philosophies of it.
Yeah. Do you believe that we're all traumatized?
I think everyone's got a level of trauma. Yeah, for sure. I think the pandemic alone is a collective trauma that we all live with now. Not, you know, whatever part of that you experienced, however it turned out for you. I think everyone is carrying a little bit of trauma from that. Yeah, for sure. So I think there is different levels of trauma within everyone.
We just sort of brush that to the side. Like, that's done with now.
Exactly.
Let's not deal with that. It's
that now, yeah. But actually, you know, when you sort of talk to people, even on
why am I feeling so anxious?
on a base level, you know, people talk about feels like a dream and wasn't that weird, and you know, people definitely experienced trauma during that time for sure, and hopefully a lot of people have worked through that. But I think the levels of burnout and things that are still going on now, I see the effects in people now that haven't dealt with it. Like particularly, like sometimes I work in clinics with the charity and in the NHS, I see it in the staff there. I see it in loads of different spaces that go in actually of people that just carried on and didn't address any of their trauma.
And so this work that you do for people that have suffered trauma, is that in person? Is it online? Is it a mixture? Like what's the setup like?
It's online, one-to-one, and it's working sort of one-to-one for 3 months, sort of getting together and working out how to help you live a more rested life to begin with, and then doing online one-to-one nidras together, you know, really bespoke to that person. So finding out, you know, what they want to work on. They might just feel it as confidence or rest or calm, you know, whatever they want to achieve from it. I will write sort of Nidra scripts bespoke to them and spend that one-to-one time with them and give them a recorded practice to carry on at home as well. And there is that kind of rest accountability, I like to call it, you know, to be holding their hands through it and helping them through that rest shame and, you know, the things in the world that stop us from resting, and just really helping them build that practice so it becomes rest and Nidra becomes like a part of their life. Yeah. So it's kind of
and do you
Nidra,
feel when
rest,
you do your practice, do you feel the same? Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, totally. No, it's fine. I think my internet had a moment. I'll blame that. Do you feel the same after each session then? If you're practicing daily, do you get the same feeling?
Physically, I do. Yeah, for sure. So that physical
Yeah.
of calm nervous system feeling, yeah, that's definitely the same. I get different kind of downloads, ideas, intuitions. They're kind of different every time, but physically for sure, yeah.
And can people, I'm asking because I want to come to one, Sam, can people come and do a session with you in person, or is it all online?
No, so I teach every Friday night in Buxton in person. We have these yoga hammocks for people to get an extra level of rest in and an extra level of just coziness, which is amazing for like sensory overload and stuff. So yeah, every Friday night I do an hour's teach class there, which is lovely. And then every other week I do a class in Macclesfield as well. And that's a rest circle is what I call it. A rest circle for women is the in-person stuff at the moment. So it's 40 minutes of Yoga Nidra guided by me, and then we share miracle cards and just like a general sort of time to connect in circle with other women. It's really, really magical.
Oh, what is that? I'm seeing my friend tonight, and I think she would be deeply into this. So cool.
You'd be
Oh,
most
well,
welcome.
where can people find out about more? Thank you. I'd love to. Where can people find out more about that sort of stuff and your work, Sam?
The best place to connect with me is Instagram, I think, yeah. So at Wise Heart Sam on Instagram is where I keep my most up-to-date stuff. And even when I'm doing my social media break, I'll schedule some stuff on there too.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much for today. It's been so cool. I definitely want to look into Yoga Nidra. It sounds like it does so much, and yeah, it sounds really, really useful.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's useful to tell people that you can access it for free on Insight Timer as well if you want to just have a sample of it. Find a voice on Insight Timer that you like and just get comfy and cozy at home and relax.
Definitely go do it. Oh, well, thanks. Thanks again so much. We got to the end. That's amazing. Thanks so much. So what is it the YouTubers say? They say like and subscribe. Please, help me out. I've got like 3 subscribers. Thank you. And more information in the show notes. All right. Bye for now.